Hey everybody, it's Mr. Plugarin, and I want to welcome you to this live Fiveable stream on the rise of political parties in America. But before we start, can you guys give me a thumbs up if you can hear me on the chat? I'm going to close this here. All right, Medina, welcome. Welcome to the chat. Welcome to the live stream. All right, Vicky, thank you so much. All right, guys, thank you so much for joining me tonight. Real quick before I start, how many of you are already on period 4 in APUSH history? That means that you're in this period of 1800 to 1848. Thumbs up if you're already on period 4. Thumbs down if you're not there yet. All right, Carter, Arthi, welcome. Awesome, guys. Well, I want to welcome you guys to the stream. And I'm going to make this as interactive as possible. And actually, I might need somebody, a volunteer, to come on screen and take a little quiz, a political ideology quiz. So if you're willing to do that and brave, I can stream you and you can be part of tonight's stream. So that would be exciting. So if you're willing to do that, let me know by putting a smiley face. And I appreciate you guys. All right. Well, first of all, if you don't follow Think Fiveable, actually, I'm going to put a poll here. Is this your first Fiveable stream? Yes or no? Can you guys answer the poll question real quick? Is this your first live stream on Fiveable? All right, no. Okay, awesome. So you guys have discovered this awesome resource that basically has live reviews in 15 subjects, AP subjects for students free. And you can follow, if you want to keep up with Fiveable and know what's going on, you can follow them on Twitter. I personally love Twitter. They post all about when they're going to stream. Instagram and YouTube. I'm not the hugest YouTube fan, but maybe you are. So definitely follow Think Fiveable on any of the social media. And then you can also get access to free materials that they post on their articles and things. All right. So before we start, what was the best thing that happened to you this week? So I don't want to just dive in there. We're going to talk about political parties. But real quick, what was one thing? So think about, today is Wednesday. So in the last week, what was the best thing that happened to you? Can you write it in the chat? All right, Justine, did you guys win? All right, it's okay. As long as you played hard, that's what matters, Justine. So great job. Justine, anybody else? What's the best thing that happened to you this week? And it's important to start the stream like this because it's gonna, you don't know me and I don't necessarily know you, but I want to make that connection with you guys because we're going to be spending the next hour together learning. So I want to know that. All right, Medina, having dinner with your family. Did you guys eat anything in particular? Anything that you liked? So for me, the best thing that happened this last week is I got to travel to California and I got to connect with my old students and my old school at Bright Star Secondary Charter Academy. And it was just such a privilege to see my old colleagues and my old students and my old school, although it's now changed. And yes, Justine, we got to meet you. It was such a pleasure to meet you there. And Justine, I want to ask you, maybe you might want to come on the live stream. I know that's a little brave, or if anybody's willing to come on here, give me a thumbs up and I'm going to be having you guys on here. So Justine, thank you so much. All right. And real quick, where is everybody from? What state or city? Medina, California. All right, Carter, thank you. All right, I appreciate you. Florida, Myrtle Beach, South Carolina, and Michigan. All right. Arthi, California. Excellent. All right, Carter. So I might call you up here in a sec. And so real quick, before we even start, you guys are AP US history students. You've taken other AP classes. You are definitely, you've taken other US history classes. So I want to ask you, what do you know about political parties in America? Like, let's have 1 minute. Actually, I'm going to put 30 seconds on the clock, and then I want you to everything that you know and then dump it into the chat. So I'm going to put 30 seconds on chat. Don't share it yet until the time is up. And let me do 30 seconds. Anything that you know about political parties in America. Ready? Go. Don't share it yet. I'll tell you when to dump it in the chat. All right, Vicky, you're getting ahead, but you're right. That's great information. Libby, awesome. Hold on, guys. Don't dump it yet because we want to make sure everybody gets a chance to share. All right. Can you guys dump it in the chat? What do you guys know? I mean, Vicky already shared some knowledge there. It started with the Federalists and the Anti-Federalists, okay? We're going to talk a little bit about that, Carter. Hannah, welcome to the chat, Hannah. All right. Feds versus Democratic Republicans. Thomas versus Jefferson. Alexander Hamilton. Oh, no, you have to go now? Oh, Hannah, all right. Well, it was great to have you for those few seconds. Democratic Republicans and Federalists. The South used to be more Democratic. All right. So you guys know that in the United States, we have a two-party system. And there have been political parties that have existed all throughout the history of the United States. Some come in, some new parties come in, and some parties disappear, like the Whig Party, the Bull Moose Party. But technically, we have been ruled by a two-party system. And today we're going to talk about how did that start? So a political party is an organized group. So for those of you guys that you've never been on a chat, or when you're in this, I usually take notes, and I recommend that students take notes, and then this is period 4, political parties. And then when you go back from the APUX history exam and you're going to study, that you can go and read through these notes, okay? So the goal is to write down just keywords, not everything, but keywords. So a political party is an organized group of people who have the same ideology or ideas, who otherwise have the same political positions, and who field candidates for elections in an attempt to get them elected and thereby implement the party's agenda. So the idea is that you take people that are just like you or think like you, and you try to elect somebody into power that thinks just like you to represent you. In the United States right now, we have two political parties, and if you keep up with the news, you see that they're constantly going at each other. Donald Trump is the head of the Republican Party, and you have the Democrats, and right now they're trying to figure out who's going to be their candidate. So, Justine, I want to see if you can come on the chat. Give me a thumbs up if you can come on, or else I think somebody else volunteered. I think it was Carter. Oh, okay, you're on the bus. All right, Carter. Would you be willing to come on the chat? All right, so I'm going to stream you on here. Just make sure your volume, if you have headphones, that you have headphones, or else it's going to make a weird echo. And all right, Zoe, welcome back, Zoe.
Hello.
All right, Carter. Hey, how you doing?
Good.
All right, Carter. So, where are you joining us from tonight?
I'm from Michigan.
All right, Michigan. So, Carter, can you move the camera down a little bit just so we can? There you go. That's awesome. All right. So, Carter, what I want to do is I want to let me do this stream real quick. So, Carter, is this your first AP class?
No, I'm taking AP Calc too.
All right. Awesome. And in the previous years, have you taken AP classes?
Nope.
All right. Well, awesome, Carter. Well, so today I don't want to just talk about political parties. I want to kind of see where somebody is at. So you're a brave soul. We're just going to see if you were a political party as a set of ideas. And so where would you fall in the spectrum? So I'm going to ask you a question. You see it right there. And you can just tell me the answer. So the question is, which statement comes closer to your own views? If neither is exactly right. So do you believe business corporations make too much profit, or most corporations make a fair and reasonable amount of profit? What do you think?
The second one.
What's that?
Second one.
Second one. You think they make a reasonable amount of money?
Yes.
All right. So let's go there. Which statement comes closer to your own views? Problems in the world would be even worse without the U.S. involvement, or the U.S. efforts to solve problems around the world usually end up making things worse?
Probably number one.
All right, number one. All right. So there's 11 questions in total, and it's going to tell you where you fall. So do you think it's the responsibility, Carter, of the government to make sure all Americans have health care?
No.
No. All right. Do you favor, oppose, or strongly oppose allowing gays and lesbians to marry?
I favor.
Okay. Which statement comes closer to your own views? Government is doing too many things that would be better left to businesses and individuals, or government should solve more problems?
Probably the second one.
All right. Got a couple more, Carter. I appreciate you, man. Which comes closer to how to handle undocumented immigrants who are living in the U.S.? Should not be allowed to stay here legally, or should be allowed to stay here
Number
legally?
one.
Okay. Which statement comes closer to your own views? The country has gone too far in its efforts to protect the environment, or the country should do whatever it takes to protect the environment?
Number two.
Okay. Do you think abortion should be legal in all cases, legal in most cases, illegal in most cases, or illegal in all cases?
Illegal in most cases.
Okay. Got about two more questions for you, Carter. All right. So which of the following comes closer to your view about the federal government's efforts to prevent terrorism? Muslims living in the U.S. should be subject to more scrutiny than people in other religious groups, or Muslims living in the U.S. should not be subject to additional scrutiny?
Number two.
Okay. And two more questions. Sorry, Carter, I keep making a mistake here. Having an increased number of people of different races, ethnic groups, and nationalities in the U.S. makes this country a better place, a worse place, or it doesn't make a difference?
Better.
All right. And the last question, Carter, and then after this, I'll log off and I'll take you off the stream so we can talk a little bit about it. But I really appreciate you just putting yourself out there, and then you're going to see where you fall in the political spectrum here. So which statement comes closer to your own views? The economy system in the country is generally fair to most Americans. The economy system in the country unfairly favors powerful interests.
Fair.
What is it?
Fair.
Fair. All right. So Carter, I appreciate you. I'm going to log you off here and stay on the stream. And I appreciate you, man.
All right.
All right. Bye. All right. So let's see what Carter, I really appreciate Carter putting himself out there, and let's see where he would fall on the political spectrum here. We're going to wait a second while this is loading. So another thing, so if you can look right here, Carter would fall in moderate Republican. So we have two political parties. We have the Democrats and we have the Republicans. Now, some people might be on this side of the political spectrum. They would call this the right-wing spectrum or the liberal spectrum. And so the question is that where do you fall? And so for this, we saw that Carter would be an average Republican. And so I'm going to put the link to the quiz there. And if you decide to take the quiz, you can see where you fall. Carter, I appreciate you sharing your views and for sticking it out there. All right, I'm going to put the link there. And so if you're interested in taking that, hey, Zoe, I appreciate you. And basically, the idea is that all of us fall into one side or the other, and some of us are more in the middle, kind of like Carter. Carter is kind of like right there in the middle. And so when the United States, now we're going to go back to the stream. You're about to see my face really big. Sorry. And so when we went, here we go. Okay. Jacelyn, welcome back. All right. So when we're talking about political parties in America, oh no. Can you guys hear me? Thumbs up if you can hear me. Whenever I do these things of switching windows. All right, Zoe, cool. So whenever we talk about political parties in America, now we're covering about two periods. We're covering the end of period 3 in AP US history and the beginning of period 4. And so I put all the standards here. In period 3.2, we're going to talk about the rise of George Washington and the political parties. Then we're going to talk about, somebody mentioned it, and I think it was Libby, about George Washington's farewell address, where he warned about political parties. And then in period 4, we're going to talk about the expansion of political parties. And so political parties isn't one of these topics that falls just in one period. It kind of spills from period 3 to period 4. And today we're going to cover all of it. So right now, if you are in period 4, you have covered about 37% of the content for the AP US History exam. And if you stick with us at 5 Bowl, I promise you, you're going to get 100% of the content, and you're going to be more than ready for this AP exam. And so period 4 brings us up to about 37%. We're in October. If you're on period 4, congratulate your teacher when you get there tomorrow, because they're doing an amazing job with the pacing. So good job. If you're not there yet, don't stress out, because things can move and you can constantly keep up on 5. Now, we're going to start off with, oh, awesome. All right, Zoe, thank you. Hey, guys, just like Zoe, if you take it, take the quiz. I know you can zoom in and out and kind of pay attention through one year here. Let me know what your results are, because it'd be very interesting to find out, okay? All right, so today we're going to start off with the standard that really begins the rise of political parties in the United States. And here's a picture of George Washington. And George Washington is a very unique figure, because during his presidency, he does something that he sets all these precedents. Now, what does that word precedent mean? Oh, guys, sorry, my cat's right behind me. Let her out. What is the word? Okay, kind of like standards. Exactly like, I would say I like the word standards, but I also like the word examples. A model, Jacelyn, perfect. So all the things that George Washington does set an example for future presidents. So the first thing George Washington, one of the first things he does is he gets a cabinet of advisors. Here's George Washington, knowing that he doesn't know everything, and he says, you know what, I need people to advise me. I'm the president of the United States, but I don't have expertise on everything, so I need people to advise me. So he creates a cabinet, and his first cabinet has 4 members. Henry Knox, and we're going to talk a little bit about them. Alexander Hamilton. Everybody, has anybody seen the play Alexander Hamilton? Thumbs up, thumbs down. All right, Zoe. I also love the musical. Yeah. Justine. All right. I hope you can go. Justine, they go there in in California all the time. Then we have Thomas Jefferson and Edmund Randolph. And here is this picture that you might see on the AP exam. George Washington is sitting down, and you kind of see everybody staring towards him. Now, this is symbolic because they are all there to serve the president. His cabinet is to serve the president. If you think, what's the purpose of a cabinet? It's like whenever I need a file, I go to that file. So if he needs advice on what to do with the military conflict, he's going to go to Henry Knox, and so on. So let me show you. This is important to know. So if you're taking notes, I would definitely write this down. He creates 4 cabinet positions. Henry Knox becomes the Secretary of War. So if there's any military conflict, this is who George Washington is going to go to. Alexander Hamilton, standing there, becomes the Secretary of the Treasury, kind of the handling of the money and the banking system in the United States. Thomas Jefferson, sitting down right here, becomes the Secretary of State, and Edmund Randolph becomes the Attorney General. Now, over time, the president's cabinet has grown. And so this is a cabinet, Barack Obama's cabinet, and more positions have been added. So it started off with 4 with George Washington. Now this is what Barack Obama's cabinet looked like. There are a total of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 16, 17, 18, 19, about 20 cabinet members. And Barack Obama used these cabinet members, just like Donald Trump. He has his own cabinet. I just couldn't find a picture of Donald Trump with his cabinet. But Donald Trump goes to his advisors to get advice. And so did Barack Obama. And that was a precedent set by... All right. Thank you, Jason. Thank you for taking that. This was an example set by George Washington. But remember, the original cabinet only had 4 positions: Secretary of War, Secretary of the Treasury, Secretary of State, and Attorney General. And here's why this is important. Because in George Washington's cabinet, starts getting different types of advice. You know, Hamilton and whispering here, and then Thomas Jefferson is going to say something, and they start kind of leaning. I like that word, Justine. Thank you for sharing that. They start kind of leaning, like they start to sway the president, giving them policy issues. So George Washington, by the creation of his cabinet, kind of created the foundation of the modern political system. Because in his cabinet, you're going to have differing views. All right, Vicky, thank you. Thank you for sharing that. So, Vicky, you're kind of just like Carter. You're in the same spectrum as Carter. So, let's look at, I think it was Vicky. Vicky, was it you that brought it up about the farewell address? Let me go back to the beginning of the chat here. Yes, it was Vicky. Vicky, it was you. So Vicky already knows about this, and this is very important because George Washington, when he leaves office, he serves 2 terms, and he does something unprecedented. He says, I'm leaving. I'm done. You can have another president. And he gives this farewell address. Now, he doesn't actually give the farewell address. He writes it out, and he basically leaves his message to the country. And this message right here is one of his most there's 2 important messages we're going to talk about, but this is the text of the message that Vicky talked about. I'm going to read it. It's a little bit in that different Old English language, but just hang in there with me. The alternate domination. So here he's talking about political parties. The alternate domination of one faction over another, sharpened by the spirit of revenge, natural to party dissension, which in different ages and countries has perpetuated the most horrid enormities, is itself a frightful despotism. But this leads at length to a more formal and permanent despotism. The disorders and miseries which result gradually incline the minds of men to seek security and repose in the absolute power of an individual. And sooner or later, the chief of some prevailing faction, more able or more fortunate than his competitors, turns this disposition to the purposes of his own elevation on the ruins of the public liberty. Now, this is a powerful, powerful statement. Basically, he's saying once you have political parties, one of them is going to be in charge of the other. And when one of them is in charge, it's going to use that power to squash the other party. And he's saying that this is going to ruin the public liberty, because when one group is in power, it's going to use this power to squash the other group. Kind of what's happening right now. So this is the text where George Washington warns about political parties. So he made two other warnings in his farewell address, but the one that we are focused on here is this text right here, about the political factions and the fact that one group would dominate the other group. He calls it despotism. But he warned another one. He had two major warnings in his farewell address. The other one was America should avoid. Oh, Vicky, you beat me to it. Vicky. All right. Good job, Vicky. America should avoid. Oh, no. Jason, can you see me? Can you guys see me? Okay. All right. So let's see if it comes back. All right. So George Washington has two warnings for the nation in his farewell address. One, America should avoid creating alliances with other nations and should avoid favors for other nations. So George Washington basically says, look, don't tell anybody that you're going to help them, because then you're going to be dragged into their problems. We should take advantage that we're separated by 3,000 miles, that we have an ocean between us, and let's keep to ourselves. And then again, his second warning was political parties will divide the nation. They will strip away the power of those without power. That doesn't make good. They will strip away the power of those with power. Sorry, I messed up on this one, guys. Basically, it's that one group with power will strip away the power of the group without it. So these are his two warnings to the nation. So this is important to know. All right, so just real quick, a really quick check for understanding. What were George Washington's two warnings in his farewell address? Okay, warned the political alliances. Justine, good job. What was the other one? Foreign alliances, foreign policy. Carter, you're on. You're right. Just be careful with the foreign policy. And he meant foreign entanglements with the policy. All right. Who can remember the 4 cabinet positions that he created? Can you guys put them in the chat? Even if you can only remember one, go ahead and put that down. Okay. Secretary of State. Secretary of War, Hey, everybody. Okay. Thank you, Carter. Thank you, Vicky. Sorry, guys, about that. Sometimes the stream gets a little low, but you guys were exactly right. So there was the Treasury Secretary was Hamilton, and the Secretary of State was Jefferson. So now we are going to have some issues because Hamilton is going to be extremely influential, and Washington is actually going to prefer Hamilton's advice. Hamilton gives them a lot of advice, and George Washington tends to side more with Alexander Hamilton. Well, Hamilton becomes the leader of the Federalist Party, along with John Adams. His politics brought him into conflict with Thomas Jefferson, who was another member of his cabinet. He's the first Secretary of the Treasury under George Washington. Hamilton is a brilliant economist, and his economic theories are the basis of our economic system. He also authored many of the Federalist Papers, which supported the passage of the U.S. Constitution. And famously, everybody knows this, well, maybe everybody knows this, he was killed in a duel with Aaron Burr. Now, Hamilton has an idea. He goes to George Washington. He says, look, I have an idea how we can fix the problem that we're facing in this country. In the country, after they won the revolution, they were $42 million in debt. If you guys look at this little blue chart right here, the national debt, that means all the colonies, all the states combined owed $42 million. What they owed to foreign countries was $11 million. And then what the states owed individually was $21 million approximately. So Hamilton says, look, we need to pay this off. You can't have a country in debt. Nobody's going to respect you if you have no money. And so we need to pay this off. So Hamilton developed a 3-point plan to solve the nation's financial problems, which was basically all this debt that had accumulated. Hamilton knew that the new government, like any person, had to pay its debts in order to establish credit. When a country spends more money than it takes in, it is operating under a deficit. This is the problem Hamilton set out to fix. So the problem is this debt. We have the national debt, we have the foreign debt, and the state debt. So he comes up with the 3-point plan, and this is important. One, he's going to deal with the debt. He's going to come up with the plan to pay it off. 2, he's got to come up with the way to get more money, to gain revenue. And of course, how do you gain revenue? It starts with the T. The whiskey tax. Taxes, exactly. He's going to raise money by taxing. And he's going to stabilize the banking system. So this is his 3-point plan to stabilize the economy. Okay, so this is important. So Hamilton comes up with the 3-point plan to stabilize the financial problem of the country, and it deals with the debt, how to make money, and how to stabilize the system. Now, a lot of people are not in support of this. They're not in support of this new plan. All of a sudden, we just created this constitution. Now we're going to create this bank. And so Hamilton does something else. He goes to all these people that are opposing him, and he says, look, if you support my financial plan to pay off the debt of the national debt, to pay off the state debts, and to stabilize the banking system, we will put the state capital in the South. Now you say, well, what's the big issue with that? Well, the southern states were the ones that opposed his financial plan. So by giving them this, by saying, look, we'll put the capital of this country in the South, if you vote for this plan, he got support to pass it. So in 1790, the debt bill passed Congress, along with the authorization for a new national capital to be constructed between Maryland and Virginia, now what we call Washington, D.C. And so let's review here, because Hamilton comes up with this plan to pay off the debt. He comes up with a 3-point plan to deal with the debt, gain revenue, and stabilize the banking system. The Southerners are opposed to this plan, and the way he gets them to support it is by promising them that he will build the capital in the South, between Maryland and Virginia. Okay? Everybody with me so far? Mahfouz, hey, welcome back. Justine, welcome again. Vicky, Jacelyn. Oh, Jacelyn, welcome. Carter, you still with me? Maybe some people. All right. So right away, all right, Carter. So right away, this brings up an issue. Can this be done? Can Hamilton, all right, Libby, awesome. The question becomes, can Hamilton create a national bank? We just created this constitution. So right away, you have these two members of Washington's cabinet, one saying, no, we can't do this, and the other person saying yes. And they're both speaking to George Washington. Well, Hamilton says the elastic clause of the United States Constitution, Article 1, Section 8, Clause 18, just understand that it's the elastic clause, you don't have to remember the article, gives Congress the authority to do whatever is necessary and proper to carry out the enumerated powers, such as regulating commerce. And so he believes that the Constitution should be loosely interpreted. He says, look, if we need something, then we just create it. The Constitution doesn't have to be spelled out letter by letter. There's no way. If the Constitution were spelled out letter by letter, we'd have like a 5,000-page Constitution. So he believes in what we call a loose interpretation. Okay, that's important. On the other side, we have Jefferson. And Jefferson believes in a strict interpretation of the Constitution. And Jefferson, it's not explicitly stated in the U.S. Constitution, and it can be done. The Constitution made no provision for a national bank, and Congress has no right to authorize it. I believe in a strict interpretation of the Constitution. So the view that's separating them is the view over the creation of this bank. Hamilton sees it that it can be done because of the elastic clause, and Jefferson believes it can't be done because it's not made, it's not explicitly stated in the U.S. Constitution. All right, I got a trick question for you guys. Maybe you're not there yet, but Jefferson is going to change his view on this. Does anybody know when he changes his view on this strict interpretation of the Constitution? Oh, Mickey! All right, you guys got it exactly. Oh man, you guys got it. Awesome. He changes his view because all of a sudden he purchases this huge piece of land from France, and so he takes on a loose interpretation of the Constitution. Jacelyn, good job coming in there. Justine, good job. Arthi, good job. Vicky, Libby, Carter, good job. All right. So I created this little video for you guys to help you understand. So we have the state of conflict is the creation of this national bank. The trunk of the issue is that some people believe that the Constitution does not allow it, and some people believe that the Congress, some people like Hamilton believe that the Congress has the elastic power to create what it needs. This leads to the creation of the two-party system. So if you have a question on the AP US History exam, what was the issue that really split and created the two-party system? It was the National Bank of the United States. One, and you can't just say, oh, it was the National Bank. You have to be able to explain the idea of a strict view of the Constitution and a loose view of the Constitution. And that these divergent views between Jefferson and Hamilton led to the creation of the two first political parties. Are you guys with me? All right, team. All right, got it. Libby, awesome. So the first two political parties are called the Federalist Party and the Democratic Republican Party. Now, Mafuse, awesome. I don't want to confuse you guys, so I'm going to make it simple. The Federalist Party is they're going to have their own views, and the Democratic Republican Party are going to have their own views, and the country is essentially going to choose sides, just like you guys did at the very beginning, where Carter took that quiz and we saw that he was a moderate Republican. There's people that are moderate liberals, and so you start to feel like, oh, this candidate represents more of my views, this candidate represents more of my views, and so on. So the Federalist Party, here's their platform. This is what they stood for. So this is important if you're writing down some notes, okay? They had a pessimistic view of human nature. They believed that the government should be powerful enough to control humans who are inherently bad people. They favored the rich. They fear the mob rule that basically let everybody vote and decide what they want. They fear that. They thought that the most educated should decide. They believe in a loose interpretation of the Constitution. They favored the industrial economy, which is based on shipping and manufacturing. They favor payment of the national and state debts. They're pro-British. Even though we just fought a war against them, they're still pro-British. Their supporters include merchants, manufacturers, landowners, investors, lawyers, and the clergy. And their leaders include George Washington, John Adams, and Alexander Hamilton. And if you think about the Federalist Party, their greatest support is going to come from the northern states. Because think about the people that includes the manufacturers, the landowners, the investors, the merchants, and so on. On the other hand, here's a picture of James Madison, who is the leader of the Democratic Republican Party. They have an optimistic view. They believe people are naturally good. They believe in limited government, that the government should not have absolute power, and they fear the power of the federal government. They believe in a strict interpretation of the Constitution. If it's not written in the Constitution, it can't be done. They believe that democracy should be led by the virtuous farmers and trade people, the common people, as they call them. That the common people should be the ones that run the country, not the wealthy or the rich. It's the common people. They believe in laissez-faire or hands-off capitalism. That means let the economy do its thing and the government should not intervene. They're pro-French. They believe in the payment of the national debt, which is a view that they also had, the Federalists had, but they believe that the debt should be paid off to favor the debtors. This is a little bit complicated, and basically the issue becomes, do you favor the creditors, the people that are letting you borrow money, or the people that are helping you pay off the debt? They believe the national bank is unconstitutional. They support the plain people, like the farmers and the trade people. And the leaders include James Madison, James Monroe, and Thomas Jefferson. Now, You're right, Carter. This is an excellent question. If you guys look at Carter's question, can you really say that Washington was a Federalist because he said he didn't want political parties? You're right. You can't really say that he was a Federalist. And actually, if you look here, it says nonpartisan. But Washington had the tendencies of a Federalist. That means a lot of the views that he had are what we attribute to the Federalist Party. But you're right. He didn't have a party affiliation. He wouldn't have said that he was a Federalist per se. Okay? So that's absolutely correct. So if we look at this, although we have tons of political parties, some parties come, some parties go, sometimes there's been a third party. Our country has been run by a two-party system, mostly by a two-party system. We have right here, you're right, Masouf, that Hamilton persuaded many of the ideas of the Federalists to Washington, and Washington was very sympathetic. That's the word that I really like. To the views of the Federalists. He tended to believe what they believed. So here we go. I'm not going to go through this, but just understand that the Federalists, we have these nonpartisan. Adams is the first Federalist Party. And then we have the election of 1800. And the The election of 1800 is a significant moment because this is the first time we switch political parties. We switch from the Federalists to the Democratic Republicans. And for many years, we have the Democratic Republicans ruling the political spectrum. And then we have a switch here to the Democrats. They dropped the name. And you can see now we have the two-party system all the way over here. We have the Democrats and the Republicans. And the parties have constantly been shifting for control. Sometimes we go this side, sometimes we go to this side. Right now, our country is leaning towards the Republicans. And that's why this election coming up in 2020 is going to decide which way are we going. The country's evenly split. All right. So we covered a lot of things. I have a couple questions for you guys before we go. And first, I want to thank you guys for joining me in tonight's stream. Carter, I want to thank you so much, man, for coming on the stream. I thought you did an awesome job, and it takes a lot of courage there to come up and just share your views. So I got a couple questions for you guys. First of all, don't leave yet, Justine. What were the 4 cabinet positions created by George Washington? What were the 4 cabinet positions created by George Washington? The Secretary of War, Treasury, State, and Attorney General. Now, this idea, what does this word mean? What does this word mean right there? Precedent. Okay, perfect. So this is to set an example. Which 2 members of Washington's cabinet began to diverge or began to take on different exactly, awesome. Began to take on opposing views? Hamilton and Jefferson. What was the issue that they were disagreeing on? Exactly, the creation of a national bank. The creation of a national bank. Now, Jefferson believed that the Constitution could be interpreted blank. What is that word? I don't know if you guys understand. He believed in a blank interpretation of the Constitution. Strict. That means that if it's not written, it shouldn't be there, and that's why he opposed the national bank. Hamilton, on the other hand, believed in a blank interpretation and a loose interpretation of the Constitution. Correct. Now, Hamilton came up with the 3-point plan to fix the country's national economy. What do you remember? What was his 3-point plan? Okay, taxes was 1. Assume the debts, state debts. Let's go back here. And to stabilize the banking system. So deal with the debt. He wanted to pay off the state debt and the national debt, put it all together into one debt and have everybody paid off, bring in taxes, and to stabilize this banking system by creating the Bank of the United States. Okay? You have to, it's very important that you understand these 3 points because these are the questions. The 3 points of Hamilton's banking system come up all the time. All right. Now, what compromise? Here's the last question. How did he gain support for his 3-point plan? How did he gain Southern support for the 3-point plan? All right, Carter, you guys are absolutely right. He made a deal with the Southerners saying that if they supported his 3-point plan, that he would move the capital or help move the capital to the South, and we moved the capital to where it is now housed in Washington, D.C. So, guys, first of all, I want to thank you so much for joining me tonight. This is a little picture emoji of myself. I'm super grateful You guys gave your Wednesday nights up to hang out with me here on Fiveable. All the clip art tonight that you saw, all that cool clip art was by Prince Padina, and he's on Teachers Pay Teachers. If you don't follow Fiveable on Twitter, you can follow me on Twitter at WPulgarin1 or WPulgarin. I could use more followers because I don't have that many. If you have any questions, I'm here for you. I know I'm not your teacher, but I'm here for you guys. WPulgarin@gmail.com. I'm going to be streaming next week on Tuesday. Let me double check because I want to make sure you guys know when my next stream is, because sometimes it moves around. Stay with me one more sec, guys. So we have a couple more streams coming up. My next stream is next week on Tuesday. My next stream is on Tuesday at 7 p.m. Central Time, and we're going to be talking about the age of Andrew Jackson, and we're going to look at some primary source documents. But there's a couple streams coming up for the rest of the week on Fiveable, and I hope you join. Guys, thank you so much for being here with me tonight. Oh, wait, I have a question. All right, Mahfouz, actually, thank you for that question. That's an excellent question. So the significance of the election of 1800 was that it was the first time that the country was able to switch political parties from the Federalists to the Democratic Republicans. Everywhere else in the world, whenever there was a shift in power from one ideology to another, it was usually a very bloody war or conflict. And here in the United States, John Adams is defeated by Thomas Jefferson, and he does something incredible. He steps away, and Jefferson's able to take over. And so it proves that in the election of 1800, that you could switch parties in this country without having a revolution or having a civil war. So that was the significance. So thank you guys for joining me tonight. I appreciate you guys. See you next Tuesday at 7 p.m. Tell your friends. Bye. Bye, everybody.